Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another 20 to Profitability here. Jay Niblick and Bryan Arzani. Say, hey, Brad.
What is up, Jay?
Not much, not much. Getting ready to start the 20-minute timer. So we do 20 minutes so you can learn, because if you got more than 20 minutes to study and things, then I can tell you why you're not profitable right now.
There's your problem.
Shut up at the 20-minute timer goes off, and hopefully we can get a bunch of good stuff in. Sign up for these. If you're just following along and you bumped into this, make sure we're doing these webinars every week, sometimes twice a week. Subscribe here, go to intermetrics.com and subscribe there. You can see it down below or here on the website somewhere. It depends on which site you found it, but sign up and subscribe so you can follow these things. So, Brad, what are we talking about today? I am hitting the timer.
Rock on. Well, I think, and here's the thing, what we're talking about today, we've been hammering this, and that book you wrote, Jay, is amazing. I mean, The Profitable Consultant, we get comments all the time about how folks look at that as like a textbook, like, really almost a practical, how do I go out and become profitable? And so we talk about the profitable consultant. I think what we're going to talk about today, I know, but to be a profitable consultant, to be profitable, you got to be attractable.
Attractable. Is that another Bryanism?
I don't know. I mean, let's just go with it. What do you say?
I like it. Hey, we create words around here all the time, and that's a Bryanism, and I'm a big fan of them, because why use old words to describe some brand new concept? So what's to be profitable, you have to be attractable mean?
Well, what it was so cool is we get our CICs, right? Certified Intermetrics consultants together, and they'll come to us and they'll come to us with just different questions. And the questions aren't like the typical things like you might think we're going to talk about a vacuum here. No, the question is how do I find better clients? How do I find better folks that are going to feed me, feed my business, feed what I do? And here's what we tell them. Here's the deal. If you want to attract better clients, then you've got to be attractive. If you're ugly, and not like, Train Ugly, I love that book, Train Ugly, but if you have low standards for yourself, for all this other stuff, I mean, you look at your clients right now, that's kind of a sum of who you are. So attractive. I mean, you talk about respect a lot, Jay.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we find, and Bryan and I have done classes all over the world. We're at like 1,600 consultants in 52 countries now. So we have trained a hell of a lot of people.
And if we don't throw down Alan, he's going to, my Scottish bro is going to hit me. So yeah.
And Alan has trained a lot of people to manage and director in the international division. Butt ton of people. And one of the two worst answers.
Jayism, your butt ton.
Butt ton. That's just.
I like it. Sweet. 2 new words. Done.
All right. That's an old phrase. That's a metric butt ton. The two things I ask in training all the time, just going around the room, introducing everybody and saying who you are and what you do and who's your ideal client. And the worst answers in the world are either A, somebody with a pulse, or B, anyone whose check clears. And when we talk about respect, and this is not terribly esoteric or philosophical, we're talking pragmatic. How do you make more money as a consultant? How do you have a more rewarding career as a consultant? Rewarding is obviously monetarily driven, but way more than that. It's your definition of success. It's whether it's a lifestyle business or whether it's supporting an entire family and putting everybody through college or whatever it is that you want it to be, rewarding and not stressful, and all the reasons why you got into this. A key to that is making sure that you attract the right people, and respecting yourself means not just taking every single, that walks down the street. I almost popped back into a military phrase there. I'll refrain from cursing too badly, but it swings.
Yeah, those old Navy corpsmen, they're pretty rough.
And so, the problem with saying anybody whose check clears, you've got to be selective. And here's the reason why. Let's say here's a case study. The guy's really good at team development and leadership coaching and sales training and helping hire and all kinds of different human capital areas. And the company says, well, we also need a lot of help with strategic planning. And the guy read One Day Business Plan one day, and he happens to have remembered some of the strategic planning coursework he did or she did in college. It says, I can handle that. It's not your forte. It's not what you specialize in. And a big mistake is to say, I'll just be desperate and I'll take it. And I know that's hard to say when you're starting out. Another area is conflict of personalities. You're not an employee that the boss says, you will deal with this hard client, you'll suck it up, chew it out, or chew it up, swallow it, and then go dump it in a toilet somewhere when you're home. Don't do it here. This is not that business. If you have a difficult client, it's tough in the beginning. that's very much the antithesis of what you believe. This is how you develop leaders. This is how you communicate. And if you're already struggling with that, just because they have a check that's ready to clear to tell you to dance like a pony and do something for them, you trade your time for that money, and they're not going to get the results you want. You're not going to be rewarded by it. And it's a practical standpoint, they're not going to be happy with it. You're not going to be happy with it. And think of all the marketing and prospecting and sales time you could have had dealing with that client. We see it all the time. If they'll take me, if they'll have me, I'll take them. And that's just not respecting yourself. One of the other things we talk about, Brian, you can talk about this because you were talking about it the other day, is respecting yourself and investing in yourself. You get so wrapped up in the business, you got to stop and sharpen the saw. And in our world, that means you can't just plateau and say, here's what I'm really good at. I'm going to keep just doing all this. So what do we talk about when we get guys in classes?
Well, I mean, we'll have coaches call up, and I call it just a shot of Java, as long as it takes just to drink that little thimble of Cuban, cafe. What does that look like? And so a lot of times what I'll ask, and I'll just ask the viewers here today. I mean, let me ask you this. If you were to be honest with yourself right now, what is the last thing that you, the individual watching this, what's the last thing you did to get better? I mean, like legit better, right? When's the last time you pushed yourself? So when we talk about this respecting yourself and being attractive, if you don't have a core belief that every day you're getting better and you're going right outside of that comfort zone, if you don't have that belief already inside of you, you have that as a major obstacle that at a subconscious level, you're preventing yourself from being able to be attractive where people go. Because here's what we want. Ideally, when you meet with a business or a CEO or an executive and they look at you and then maybe she says, I just want to hire, will you come to work for me? If you get offered a job, then you are attractive. You have that essence and that aura about you. That means you're dived into books on a regular basis. You're learning, you're expanding, you're continually pushing yourself. And that's what we do. If a consultant calls us up and says, man, I'm kind of plateauing, or what Jay's talking about here. First thing I ask him is, what's the last thing you did that made you wildly uncomfortable in terms of learning, in terms of doing something that scared the heck out of you? If you haven't done something lately, man, it's you. You got to look in the mirror.
You may not be attractable.
Yeah, you got to be attractable, baby.
You're unattractable. Yeah. We'll have fun with that word for weeks to come. The other thing that oftentimes happens with this, and what we see here, that we'll do is one of the things that we really want to try to accomplish at Intermetrics, self-plug here for just a minute, stopping the education train, but it's fleshing it out, is getting you into a community of other consultants.
That's huge, man. It is so lonely. It's lonely being a solopreneur.
But it's interesting to make sure that you're pressing up against other ideas and philosophies, and questioning your own, and pushing the envelope, and just straight out learning. Like, how did you guys write that proposal? Why didn't you show up with a pitch book? What was it that made you approach that differently, and why? And it seemed to work for you. What are the best practices? And stretching yourself to try to learn and adopt and adapt ways to do it. One of the other things that we know makes you attractable is, and this all goes down kind of like narrowing your scope, because when you're young and starting out, regardless of age, but the age of your business or your practice, it's again, really desperate world. It's like, I'll take anything, and I love the sales guy that says, I'm a rabid pit bull in a meat packing shop. That's great. But that assumes that everything in that shop is perfectly aligned for the pit bull or the Rottweiler that's starving to death, and he doesn't care. It's all meat, but that's not the way it is out there. When you go out, and here's the key, when you go out there, and again, being unattractable tries to be everything to everybody. We're big fans of niche. You can have multiple niches in different industries, but the guy that says, I'll help any company with any problem that they have, in whatever way with regards to human capital, doesn't make you as attractive either, because there's not a resonance. And resonance is the factor of where are they and what radio frequency are they listening on? And by that, I mean, they're the general manager of a manufacturing company. They're the president of a bank. She is the executive vice president of, sales in this sales organization. If you're on a radio channel that's just saying, I'm going to be all things to all people, that Confucius said, he who chases two rabbits catches none, then she doesn't quite clearly hear that message. But when you're communicating what you do, when you specialize, then she hears that you work with bank executives to help with problems that they suffer from. He hears that you work with senior management and manufacturing organizations in this industry or in that industry. You have a focus that's in these areas. And that's tough because a lot of people want to say, well, I don't want to turn away any business. I might be able to help. I think I could help. Get in your core, start by looking at what is your experience and what's your history. And you can do vertical niches and horizontal niches. Vertical niches are like an industry, like a vertical. So banking, manufacturing, finance, hospitality, sales, healthcare. There's a horizontal niche too, though, where you can say, I work with people on team building. I don't care about the industry, but I'm in this band of I do team building, or widen it out and say I do human capital management or hiring. Or if you can have some kind of way to discern down, here's what I respect about myself and I know I'm great at, and I'm not going to try to stick on a bunch of other appendices and say, okay, I'm really good at anything you need. It all comes back to respecting and appreciating what it is you're great at, and then communicating that. That makes you much more attractable.
And you said something in the beginning, Jay, that's pretty powerful. So you said, we ask folks, what is their ideal client? And we get asked that question, what is an ideal client? If you were out there doing it every day, or when you are doing, or when you were doing it, what's an ideal client? Do you specialize in a specific industry? And I'm going to say this, and a lot of you are going to write this down because you think the right way and you're in the right place. With the Intermetrics suite of instruments, what we're able to be, because a lot of folks will want to know, what type of curriculum do you subscribe to or what type of industry? Here's two things, right? We are curriculum agnostic and we are industry agnostic. And then I earn the right to go back and they go, what do you mean? And we say, well, here's the deal. The foundation of both of those questions is any organization that is committed to aligning their talent with their genius, then that's exactly what we're looking for. However,
if horizontal niche.
There you go.
We have no vertical niche. We do and we don't. Our customers have vertical niches.
Well, and we have consulting practices that have niches. We've got folks that are amazing sales trainers or amazing org development,
and they do. We have a niche as far as we only deal with independent business consultants, or management consultants, or executive coaches. There's a couple of terms that they all use, but we don't sell to organizations directly. We don't deal with government organizations providing profiles. So we have a niche as far as this is who our customer is. And it's not just any consultant. It's not an engineering consultant or a land consultant or, hydrodynamic consultant or anything like that. Again, but for our consultants, it's horizontal. If it has to do with maximizing human capital, connecting that capital with their genius in an organization. And the overarching approach for us is make the overall organization better. But here's how we do that. But we're not going out saying, and so this is the lesson that I want you guys that are listening to learn. We're not going out saying we can do everything. We can do all of this stuff, and it doesn't matter what it is or that. We have to respect, you have to respect yourself. And it starts with, and Bryan did this, it starts with, what is it we're really great at? What's our genius? And then how do we find customers for whom that is what they need? Which means saying no to people. It's tough.
And that's hard. And here's what I'll tell you. So let's say, a lot of us that are sitting out there right now may go, okay, so if I do say no, how do I do it, or how do I maximize it? Let me tell you this right now. So my last name's Arzani, right? So I'm Italian. All right. So my great uncle Salvatore Citarello, right? He's a guy who grew up, he was born in Italy, came to the U.S. We worked as a fish market. Then he ended up buying the fish market on Manhattan. So long story short, I got this thing in me that says, I want everybody to own me somehow, right? On the up and up, right? That's what we're talking. So here's the deal. If I'm going to go say no to a potential client, right? Because maybe we don't have that click and that connection, or I don't have what they need in my niche, or it's not something I'm passionate about. There's always about 2 or 3, I call them, we want referral partners in the area. And so what you want to do in your local area is find people that serve the same either level in a business or the same types of clients that you want, but you don't have competing products. So maybe it's a financial planner, or maybe it's a strategic organization. So I'll make friends with a couple of those folks that are they're comfortable and they're confident and they're mature and they're successful and respected in their industry. I'm not going to go to somebody just getting started. I'm going to go as high as I can. And then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to interview them and find out, what is an ideal client for you? And I'm going to spend time. And then I'll just simply say, when I find someone that would be ideal for you, would you mind if I brought them to you? I'm not going to ask them for referrals. If you go to people and go, hey, can I get a referral? You ain't never going to get one. Trust me. I used to do that when I was, 13. But here's what I found, right? I will go to that strategic planning group or that gentleman. There's a lady in town who does CEO roundtables, right? And I'll never forget, I brought her a lead one time. And I simply said, Sharon, I got this lead. There's a CEO wanting to join a CEO roundtable. Now, deep down, I thought, you know what? I could do this. I could totally start roundtables, and she'd be my first client. Woohoo! I thought, you know what? I'm not going to build any credibility with her as a potential client, and I'm not going to get a chance for Sharon to own me. So I brought Sharon, this CEO, put them together, and then Sharon goes, thank you very, very much. And then what happened was a month later, I wrote Sharon a little handwritten note that said, hey, Sharon, hope you and Kennedy are getting along great. Let me know if there's anything I could ever do for you in the future. And about 5 months later, she called me up and she said, what is it that you do again? I have no idea, which taught me a lot. It taught me that even though we had been together, I told her I'd give her a lead and she told me she would, blah, blah, blah. She had no freaking clue. Why? Because she was very important, very successful, and she only retained the information that was valid. And it wasn't until this lead that I brought her turned into something, then she came back around. And so I respected myself enough to walk away from that deal. And then ultimately now I got a referral partner that's similar industry, right? Like-minded, like potential clients. And you know what? I just like it when people owe me. So that's kind of a personal experience.
And there's two realms of referrals, I mean, we see there's more than that. I mean, we're not talking about, we actually have an entire dedicated piece that we'll talk about getting referrals from your existing clients to other clients, but that's a client referral. That's different.
Sure. Oh yeah, you bet. That's a great one.
I think a big mistake a lot of people say is the biggest mistake they can say is, you know what, I don't work in that area. Cause I'm a sales guy.
Oh,
so
dude,
while I'm saying, hey, don't take the business yourself. Let's say you do coaching and you don't do sales training. And the company that you are talking to don't have as a client or have as a client says, oh, we need sales training. A lot of people, if they're even close to it, say, I could probably muddle through this. It's just coaching. I can coach the salespeople, and that's sales training. Or I do communications and team building, but I don't do coaching. I could probably figure it out. There's a lot of things that are close in that you find yourself with mission creep. Like I went in here to help them with this, and then the next thing I'm over here specializing in that, getting paid to do something I'm not really great at, don't enjoy doing, but what the hell, I got paid for it. So it's a win.
Right.
It's not a win. So when the worst thing you can say is when that happens is to say, you know what, sorry, I wasted your time. I don't do executive coaching, so that's not what I'm about. If you're approaching an organization in a holistic approach saying, my intent is to work in this kind of a vein with human capital and understanding all the different things about the people and what's happened in between the years and all the things we teach, then they say, oh, we need coaching. That's the worst thing. Sorry, can't help you. The second thing that's not great is, in my opinion, to say, all right, this is not the case with what Brian just gave, but it's a consulting thing, is to say, I'll refer you over to a guy named Doug. And Doug does that. I'm going to send an email and introduce you to and say, Doug, meet Mary. Mary, meet Doug. The best thing to do is to say, you know what? I'm an organizational consultant. I'm a business consultant, whatever. This is what I do. So let's talk more about that. I want to bring in my partner, Doug, who specializes in the coaching piece. That's his expertise, and we work together in organizations, and here's how it works. And there's a team of us. You can look a little bit bigger than you actually are, but it's an affiliated team. But you stood at the doorstep first. You got the prospecting to get to the suspect that's qualified to a prospect that's standing there talking or sitting or whatever. You earned that, damn it. So don't just turn it over and say, there you go, Doug. Now, again, he's talking about more of a professional affiliation, and that's true. If I need somebody says they need an attorney, I'm going to make the introduction. I'm not going to say, yes, my attorney department here in the company is going to come in. But if it's consulting like you, but it's not something you specialize in, that's one of the benefits that we try to push here at Intermetrics is know your network. You've got an awful lot of consultants out there, and they all specialize in different areas. But finishing that thought out, that's the best. Is you say, you know what, we can help you with that. Who's with? I'm going to call my partner, Doug. Didn't know that's where this was headed. Let's schedule a call for next Tuesday, see if he's available to join us. He's the expert here that helps with that. You go back to Doug, which you can't do right then. You have to have already had this network with people and say, if I'm looking for executive coaches, I got this one. She's the strategic planning expert with a degree from Wharton. He's the one who does this. You know, boom, boom, boom. You can call Doug and say, all right, Doug, I got one on the hook. But it's your client, and you're bringing Doug in to your client, because it's never just coaching. It's never just strategic planning. It's never just sales training. So you work to get the client, keep the damn client, bring in the expert. Don't do it yourself. Bring in the expert. And the benefit to that, and then I'll shut up, is you get to stay in the top levels in the helicopter with the CEOs and the top people. And you become the expert. So sorry I went on.
No, it's good. No, and what it does is it allows you to be attractive, right? Attractable. You're bringing them in, and that's what you do. You
Attractable.
Stay there. So rock on. Hey, what do we always say at the end of these things, Jay?
Well, today we're going to say, go out and make yourself pretty freaking attractable. And now it's time to go sell some shit.
That's it. Later.
Bye.